How do I keep ne'er-do-wells at bay? With this gun in my hand, and this aroma about my personage. Yes, it is I, that most fragrant, most genteel practitioner of wordplay in the tri-state area, the PunGent. However much I have enjoyed dispensing bons mots to the citizenry, it does trouble me that I am not respected, neither by my colleagues in crime-fighting, nor by the people I serve. My reputation, how would you describe it? It stinks. Hence I decided to downplay my identity as the PunGent and begin afresh as an honest-to-goodness detective. The hard-boiled variety, you know, not the sort with a quasi-heroic name and a gimmick. From now on, I will go by the name given me at birth, Roscoe Eddington St. John Newman, private investigator. I decided that re-establishing myself as a serious, professional figure required an important case. My first case must be to solve a murder. I strolled past one of the few blocks of natural habitat open to the public within Parabellum City. I believe it is known as Crystal Park. What I needed was a source of information. Oh, I could always pay someone like the Infomatron or Wordsmith to give me tips, but they charge for their services. I hadn't tuppence to rub together. Actually, a tuppence is a single coin, so you might need 4 pence in order to rub 2 of them together. It has been quite some time since I've returned to Old Blighty. But what's this? I found there was no need to search further for a murder mystery. One had come to me in the form of a Studebaker approaching on Verf Street. I bounded into traffic and held my arm at length, indicating the driver should come to rest.
Watch it, Mac. Get out of the road.
Please step out of the vehicle, sir.
I've heard Irish cops in Parabellum City, but you sound a little off. Oh my God! What's that smell? I think I'm gonna be sick.
Come off it, man. I performed my ablutions less than a week ago. Perhaps I should wash my greatcoat? Never mind that. Please direct your vehicle to the side of the road so that we may confer.
Fine. The sooner I get out of here, the better. Now what is it? Say, you're the PunGent, aren't you?
I have been known by that name, but I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. I am a serious private detective now. Hard-boiled, even. Now, do you know why I pulled you over?
Because you're a maniac with pockets full of cheese you put there last spring?
I've stopped you because you are such a brazen killer. You advertise the fact on the front windscreen of your automobile.
What are you talking about?
It says right there, across the top of your vehicle, murder.
No, that's mudder.
Oh, well, you'll have to excuse me. I did not account for the American accent. Are you from the Bronx?
No.
But I take it that scrawling the word mudder across your windscreen is a way of showing pride in the woman who gave birth to you.
No, mudder. It's, taking your car off-road. It's when you go driving through unpaved trails or hills. You have to beef up your automobile so it can drive over rocks and tree roots without falling apart. An alternative term for it among the mudder community is roads that are bumpa-lumpa.
I see. Then may I ask about your father?
I told you it's not mother and father, it's mudder.
Yes, but I deduce that you raise sheep. What is it that you feed them? What is their fodder?
Oh, they graze on grass. I give them grain or hay during the colder months. How did you know I raise sheep?
I can see from the stickers on the bumper of your vehicle. No farms, no food. And my other car is full of sheep.
That ain't a crime, is it?
Certainly not.
I grew up on a farm outside of town, but as soon as I got old enough, I moved to the big city. Once you see the bright lights of Parabellum City, how are you going to keep them down on the farm?
The lights of Parabellum City don't seem bright by comparison with other largish towns, or burgs, as you might say.
I mean the bright lights of muzzle flash when you see pistols blazing.
Oh, quite.
Anyway, if we've cleared up your questions about mudders versus murders...
Oh, yes, please. My apologies for detaining you. Please proceed.
Ya nut.
After that, I sulked through the park, refusing a shoeshine and eventually sitting at an empty bench. A few pigeons soon surrounded me, their cooing call seeming to mock me. No one takes you seriously. Coo! You'll never amount to anything beyond a crafter of puns and a purveyor of unpalatable fragrances. Coo! Quite articulate, these daydream pigeons. Just then I noticed it. A small black book lay within the dried-up bowl of a large, unused fountain. I retrieved the book, its pages warped, perhaps from rain. The fountain had been turned off since the onset of the Great Depression. The cover of the book said only, "Diary." Although the name of the author was not written on the cover or inside, I recognized her vivid prose style at once. Light-hearted at one moment, deadly serious the next, and always exploring tales of the literal underground underworld. This journal had been written by none other than the famous mystery author, Agatha Christie. You see, because Agartha is the name of a lost underground city, well known among students of the occult. Surely you've heard the legend, and surely you've heard of Agatha Christie, the author of such best-selling mysteries as And Then There Were CHUFFs, originally titled 10 Little Mole Men, or The Taking of Paddington 123, Evil Way Under the Sun, The Mirror Cracked After Being Hit by a Chud, and so many others. No? You've never heard of her? Well, be that as it may, the diary is fascinating. As I read it, I can almost hear her voice. Ahem. I have once again descended below the city streets, to the place where dwell unwanted peoples. Misfits, outcasts, mud people. I don't mean that phrase in the derogatory sense to refer to people of color. I mean literal mud people, intelligent beings whose bodies are partially composed of mud. I descend below the earth's surface in search of new and different characters to populate my mysteries. Instead, my first encounter in the sewers beneath Verf Street was with someone who drains energy from all those he encounters. Hello, Alan.
Miss Christie, you're Agatha Christie, aren't you? I'd know you anywhere.
Yes, Alan, but I'm busy at the moment.
Who are you looking for today, Miss Christie? Is it the Mole Men?
No, 10 little mole men were more than enough for me.
Then who is it? Maybe I can help. You looking for the CHUFFs or the CHOUFFs?
With this excursion, I hope to find signs of the mushroom people, creatures of legend who evolved from fungus into shambling, shrieking bipeds. What a delight if I could find one of them and we could have a brief shriek together.
You should talk to one of them fellas that call themselves CHOUFFs, champion helpmeets of the ululating fungi.
No, they're no use. They think my work exploits the denizens of the underworld by making them the subjects of my tawdry murder mysteries.
Aw, they're wrong. I don't think that. Although you were kind of venturing outside your milieu when you wrote Mutants on the Orient Express. Most of that took place above ground, unless you count the train going through the tunnels. But you're not exploiting them.
Quite.
I wish I could help you find whoever you're looking for. I spend a lot of time down here, so I might know some people.
Perhaps you could help. My last lead on the mushroom people said that they were in contact with Cutie.
Who?
Have you not heard of Cutie and the Beast? There's a sort of monster who lives down here, a beastly creature. He resembles a lion man with his feline facial features and wavy golden locks. They say the beast is in a romantic relationship with a beautiful woman who lives above ground, and that her son will become a resistance leader in the fight against the monstrous computer system that will enslave humanity in years to come.
Skynet?
No.
Starlink?
No, it's a system called Falk GPT. First appeared in episode 92.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I know who can help you. Johnny. He carries secret messages back and forth between people, so he gets to know everybody. I guess I shouldn't say that since it's supposed to be a secret. Follow me.
Alan ducked beneath a low stone arch and set off at a pace with which I had difficulty keeping up. I should have been lost in those tunnels if he hadn't slowed down and let me catch up several times. After many twistings and turnings and ladders to deeper levels, we reached a circular chamber with countless open pipes emerging from the walls and ceiling. I was thankful that nothing was dripping from the pipes, although the floor was damp. Where is he then, Alan?
He'll be around. He always comes back to this place. There he is. Hi, Johnny.
Hello, Alan. Who's this? You know you're not supposed to tell anyone about me.
I know, but this ain't just anybody. This is Agatha Christie. She writes those books about underground killers.
So she'll write about me, and everyone around the world will know my business.
Don't flatter yourself, young man. Unless you have a fascinating tale to tell, it will not become fodder for my book.
Fine, that's just how I like it.
Young man, are you quite well?
Sure, why?
Well, when you turned your head just now, I noticed... Is that a steel pipe projecting from the side of your chin? And I thought you wore your hair in some exotic topknot, but now I see it's another inch of pipe set into the top of your head. How did you...
It's nothing.
That's why Johnny left the surface world and lives down here, Miss Christie.
Can it, Alan?
It's nothing to be ashamed of. He was walking down a sidewalk one time when somebody dropped an oboe from a tall building. Pow! Right through his skull. Everybody thought he was a goner for sure, but I guess it missed anything important. The doctors sawed off the ends that were sticking out above and below his head. They were afraid to remove it because his brains might fall out if they did.
Oh my. Doctors wouldn't let me go for a couple weeks until I was stable. But it's fine now. I get by okay. That's when I became a data courier.
Oh?
It's the way of the future. Banks and businesses and government agencies have been sending messages through pressurized tubes for years now. You just write a note, put it in a little cylinder, and the vacuum pressure whisks it away through a tube to some other part of your building or other parts of the city. But those messages can be intercepted, see? By putting the message in the pipe in my skull, I take it out of that network. I find the intended recipient of the message, I tap my pipe a few times, and deliver the message.
How is that different from delivering the message by hand? Why does it need to be in your skull?
See, this way, you can start the process by sending it from your pneumatic tube station to me. I hear one coming now. I lean my head against the open end of the pipe here in my office, and I caught it. Or I can take it part of the journey until I find another safe station, then lean up to a tube, and off it goes the last mile, or 100 feet or whatever.
Is there any more to the story?
No, that's about it.
Okay, well, nice to meet you, Mr.
Pneumatic. Johnny Pneumatic.
Of course.
And here you go.
What's this?
The latest message is addressed to you.
Oh, how do I...
There's a little catch at the end of the cylinder.
This was in your skull a moment ago?
Right. Don't worry, that's axle grease dripping off it, not blood or anything like that.
I extracted a handkerchief from my handbag and wound it round the tube. Inside I found a tightly folded letter. As I began to read it, I imagined I could hear the voice of the man who must have written it. It read, "To Miss Agatha Christie,
from Willie Lotex. I hope you'll be willing to help me, Miss Christie, after you hear my story. I'm a radio salesman. The guys at the radio stations, they got no reason to listen to me, but I have strong feelings about the importance of radio and what gets broadcast over the airwaves. A few weeks back, I was driving my jalopy on some bumper-lumper roads, getting a little muddy. I installed a radio on the dashboard of my car so I can listen while I drive. And I kept hearing these horrible commercials. I know it's hard to believe, but I think the Magnum Radio Network has been working with criminals and confidence men, even some literal monsters. When I tried to find someone trustworthy at Magnum to spill the beans to, they just...
Hold it right there.
Who are you? Where did you come from?
My name is Agent Ralph Stern. Here's my badge.
Radio Narrative Vice Squad?
We had a report that you've been taking part in a 1001 Arabian Nights scenario.
I don't even know what that is. Getting attacked and carried away by a giant bird? Casting the blondest wasp available in the role of a Middle Eastern hero?
No. You've been telling a story about someone else, who's telling a story about someone else, who's telling a story about someone else, etc. It's in danger of spiraling out of control.
Okay, yeah, I guess we're guilty of that. Is that a crime?
It's a violation of the Daft Smartly Act.
Never heard of it.
And you call yourself a radio man. When you have a sufficiently convoluted plot, it has to at least keep moving the story forward. Each bit has to have elements of action or drama or humor, or it has to develop the setting or character. Your narrative is doing none of those things. It's pointless.
That's not true. Everything we've done in this episode has been funny. I mean, it's supposed to be.
How do you figure?
Do I have to spell it out for you? I thought everybody would get this.
Spill it. Out.
It's a parody.
A parody of what? Cloud Atlas?
No, Frankenstein.
What?
Frankenstein, obviously.
Did I miss the part where a mad doctor assembled body parts and gave them life?
Actually, in the novel, Victor Frankenstein dropped out before receiving his doctorate.
Whatever, a mad scientist then.
No, it's not the details of the plot, just the arrangement. The captain of the ship tells the story he heard from Victor Frankenstein, who tells the story he heard partly from his monster, who tells the story he heard from the family he stayed with briefly. I think there are 5 or 6 layers of story within a story at one point.
I suppose the law requires that convoluted plots must serve a purpose, like humor. It doesn't require that anyone actually finds them funny.
Good.
You don't think the person who wrote this story within a story within a story was just trying to pad it out and fill time?
No.
And how exactly will you wrap up all these layers of narrators?
We'll close them out in reverse order. I'll finish my story, then the lady will finish her story, then the guy that smells. My story was almost finished before you interrupted.
My apologies. Please proceed.
As I was saying, The first person at Magnum Radio Network I complained to tried to shoot me. Everybody in that studio is packing heat. After that, I went straight to the top.
The president of the network?
No, I went to the top of the building. One of the executives talked me down. He didn't want bad press from another person dying in their building. After I told him what I'd noticed, he said he'd help. They recorded a commercial to counter all the bad things they'd promoted in the past. The announcer said, "The following is a public announcement
on behalf of the Magnum Radio Network. In previous episodes of This Gun in My Hand, we ran commercials for an organization called Fang Duel. This group hosts sporting events, namely fights between vampires, werewolves, shapeshifters, and other humanoids with fangs or claws. We have since learned that the creators of Fang Duel were themselves vampires. They organized the scheme for the express purpose of attracting and feasting on the blood of spectators, fighters, promoters, and anyone else involved in the sports entertainment industrial complex. Also, the outcomes of fights were prearranged, so the whole situation was very misleading. We regret our participation in this bloodthirsty so-called sport, and would like to express our condolences to the families of those who died in or near the Fang Duels. We wish that our actions had not resulted in the draining of life from so many young boxers, cutmen, popcorn vendors, janitors, managers, marketers, writers of ad copy, radio announcers who read commercials for the..."
Other messages we regret broadcasting include the theory that chili does not exist, selling a so-called medicine that dissolves fingernails as if that's a positive thing, and all the various forms of telephone gambling hotlines, telegraph gambling, semaphore gambling, gambling via smoke signals, 2 cups on a string gambling, bathroom wall graffiti gambling, which includes communicating bets via graffiti as well as placing bets on how long before graffiti would be removed. It has come to our attention that organized gambling does not produce anything beneficial for society and generally functions as a regressive tax, redistributing wealth upwards from poor and working class people to rich casino owners and conmen. We apologize for any of our listeners who have lost their life savings, their homes and families and jobs, and now live in the gutter, betting cigarette butts on beetle races. Sorry.
That seemed like a good start, but I thought it should go a lot further. That's why I wrote this letter for Johnny Pneumatic to deliver to you, Miss Christie. If you can incorporate that message into one of your novels, word would spread around the world that the Magnum Radio Network is dangerous and should be shut down, regardless of how contrite they try to sound in their commercial. I hope you'll help, Miss Christie.
Yours truly, Willie Lotex. And that is where the letter ends.
Gosh, Miss Christie, what a wild story.
Not wild enough for me. Strangers constantly approach me to suggest that the stories of their lives should be in my next book, but few of them interest me. This is another tale to be discarded, I'm afraid. I shall resume my search for the mushroom people. But first, I think I'll emerge from the underworld and rest in the park. It's quite damp down there, and I don't want to develop a respiratory illness. As I record this in my journal, seated on the rim of a disused fountain, I have a splendid view of the park. I certainly won't leave this written record in the dried bowl of the fountain, unless something fearful occurs, such as mushroom people or CHOUFs or CHUDs taking me captive and dragging me down to their lair. Ah, now, who are these gentlemen softly
padding towards me on their delicate stalks? Oh dear! She must have been carted off by the spongy devils before she could even punctuate the words "oh dear" with a full stop. Finally, here is a mystery worthy of the PunGent. I will descend to the depths of dampness and rescue Miss Christie from whatever horrors have taken her. Best of all, no one will notice my personal aroma while I explore the slimy sewers. I shall be lauded and respected for my skills as a detective and crime fighter. Everyone will say, "The PunGent has cleaned up." Eh? What? But what did you clean up? You're still using that old crime fighter name. You still radiate an aroma that's so thick it's almost visible. I cleaned up my attitude, boy. I have embraced my true self. I feel like embracing the world. The closest embrace you're going to get is air hugs. I will take what I can get.
The following is a public announcement on behalf of the Magnum Radio Network, continuing the list of our regrets. What else we got here? One of our previous stories in This Gun in My Hand featured a military recruiter depicted as a vampire who enticed young men to join up so he could drink their blood after they were killed in battle. That was completely unfair and wrong. We should not have reminded you that it's possible to join the military, and we apologize to any listeners who might have actually enlisted. We also regret the ads for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Villains apprenticeship program. Really should have caught that one before airing it. It's right there in the name of the group that they're villains.
and we regret airing any ads for Kevin Trudeau's book, Detonators, Timers, and Explosives Made from Everyday Household Items They Don't Want You to Know About, as well as Cash for Diabetic Test Strips, gentrifying real estate schemes, and all other advertisements you would otherwise find on signs nailed to telephone poles. This expression of our regret has been brought to you by Red Sorghum, more or less instant hot breakfast paste. You'll have no regrets when you start your day with a hot, nutritious bowl of red sorghum paste.
The PunGent Cleans Up, episode 114 of This Gun in My Hand, was convoluted by Rob Northrup. This episode and all others are available on YouTube with automatically generated closed captions of dialogue. Visit thisguninmyhand.blogspot.com for credits, show notes, archives, and to buy my books, such as Little Heist in the Big Woods and Other Revisionist Atrocities. How do I unravel convoluted tales? With this gun in my hand.